What's going on, everyone? This is Era Cuts for the Win. Gonna do a topic video. It's been a while since I've done that. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I've noticed that I've had a few new subscribers, so I want to welcome you guys to the channel and give you something to think about. Let's all kind of get into this discussion. This is a debate that's going around on Twitter as well as YouTube, and I just wanted to kind of give my 2 cents. Is getting tips in video games cheating? This could be anywhere from, getting a tip from a friend, looking up something on GameFAQs or YouTube, or just simply streaming and having some backseat gamers tell you what to do. Because that happens a lot, and we're going to get into that one because I have personal experience with that one, more so recently. So we're going to get into that. But just overall, is getting help cheating in a video game? I actually took this to Twitter. I said personally, I don't think looking up tips for a level or a boss is cheating or makes you any less of a gamer. Especially that last part, I want to emphasize, it's silly to think that if you look up something, you're less of a gamer. We're not even going to dignify that with any kind of commentary in this video because it's just silly. If you're a gamer, you're a gamer. In my opinion, that's just the way it is. If you pick up a controller, if it's your hobby, you're a gamer, at least to me. So yeah, we're going to focus on the first part of my tweet where I say, I don't personally think that it's cheating. And I'll explain why, but I do want to mention that some people disagreed with my tweet. There was a few people, most people agreed, but there were a few who were respectful about it. They just said, you know what, I don't agree. I think you should do it on your own. Just more so tweets like that where they kind of centered it around your own personal satisfaction. And I think that's where people kind of get things confused. And instead of calling it cheating, I think they're more so thinking along the lines of, you're ruining your satisfaction. You're not doing it on your own, so you're not going to feel great about it, which is entirely subjective, by the way. And I want to mention that right up front, is that what's satisfying to you may not be satisfying to me, or vice versa. Or we may agree on something, but the third person could come along and say, well, I don't do it that way. We're all different when it comes to gaming. And if you happen to get help with something and I didn't get help with that, I'm not going to look down on you and think, well, you suck. You must have needed that help and you're not as good as me. That's something I would never think. Because in my opinion, I feel like it's really hard pressed to find somebody who has never had help with a video game. I feel like we've all done it ever since we were little, especially if you grew up in the 80s and the 90s. You had, magazines, Nintendo Power, magazines like that. There were strategy guides that were released and people would buy. Then, came along the internet and it turned into forums and YouTube videos and, instant messaging and being able to connect with all these people around the world and share ideas. So when it comes to just sharing tips and strategies, I think of it in the way of like we're sharing ideas and we're sharing our experiences, and maybe something I did can help you out or vice versa. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it's what builds a community and what brings us together. If we all were just on our own and never shared our experiences or shared any kind of help with each other, for one, we probably wouldn't have the Dark Souls community. Those games would probably flop. Who knows? Probably 99% of us wouldn't have fought the secret boss in Bloodborne. All of us wouldn't have a platinum in that game, or any platinum maybe. It's possible. Who knows? If we never had any kind of, stories to tell and experiences to share with each other, this community would be a lot different. So I want to say that right up front. We've all done it, all right? And if you've never done it, I find that very hard to believe, okay? So that's just my thing. When I think of cheating in a video game, I don't think about sharing tips with other gamers. I don't think of it in that way. I think of cheating like you're cheating somebody else in multiplayer, or you're exploiting the game somehow. You're using glitches to manipulate the game. For example, like in multiplayer, some people, they lag switch, or they will use like modded controllers, things like that. To me, that's cheating straight up, because you're cheating to, beat other players. You're cheating them out of their experience. I don't think of that as the same thing as being on your own in a single player game, looking up an item that you need to get, or somebody telling you, hey, why don't you try using this weapon? It worked for me. If I took that advice from somebody, and I still beat that boss or whatever it was, I would still feel satisfied. I wouldn't feel like, well, they did it for me. Unless I'm handing them the controller or I'm bringing them into the game for co-op or something like that and they do all the work or whatever, I'm going to feel pretty satisfied. It's actually happened more than a few times. The most recent that I can think of is when I was streaming Neo. I was fighting against, what's her name? Her name's Yuki Onna. In my opinion, she's like maybe top 5 hardest bosses in the game. She's up there, especially when you first meet her and you know how early it is in the game and all of that. She was tough, and I was struggling with her on stream. I was streaming it live, and you know I was struggling a little bit. Someone in my chat was telling me, hey, instead of dodging, try running, because dodging you won't get far enough from her attacks. She has a lot of range. Try it, because that helped me. So I was like, you know what? I run anyways. I'll go ahead and try it. No biggie. I didn't even think twice about it. So, you know, I think I died a couple more times after that, but then eventually running instead of dodging actually helped. It kept my movement going. It kept me in control of the fight, and I felt more confident, and I was able to beat her. Did I feel like I cheated? No, that doesn't even come to my mind. And I still had the same satisfaction. I still beat her on my own. I still had to incorporate the run in certain spots of my choosing. I had to still execute my moves and execute my dodging, running, all of that. So when I think of it in that way, like I'm streaming, somebody gives me a tip, to me that isn't cheating. I'm still performing. I'm still the one that's beating this boss. You could know everything in the book about a boss and still struggle. Let me just throw out a boss right now. Ludwig from Bloodborne, from the DLC. Plenty of people got tips for that game. People were telling them what to do, and they still got their butt kicked. There's plenty of bosses in these games where you could know a thing or two, tips that people tell you, and you'll still have to execute it. And if you don't, you're gonna die. So to me, I've never ever thought of it as cheating. I like the idea of sharing these kinds of ideas with other gamers. I like the idea of helping other gamers as well. I've put out videos on how to beat certain bosses, and I still get comments to this day about those videos. People who are thanking me for helping them. They still beat the boss on their own. I'm not over here thinking, well, you cheated, because that would be silly. I made those videos for a reason. I made those videos to connect with the community, to help some people out, because there are people out there who are struggling and they don't know what to do, and just sending them a tip or two, you know, it's a way to kind of bond with them and to kind of, you know, bring them into my channel for one, and to help them out. It brings me satisfaction. They're satisfied. I didn't go in there and help them physically. I didn't go in there and take the controller from them. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, it's all about your personal fun and what makes you satisfied. Because me, I try and avoid co-op. Like when it comes to games like Dark Souls, Neo, Bloodborne, if I'm doing co-op, it's just strictly for fun, just to mess around, to help another player, or to just get more items or something like that. I don't like to use it for my own playthrough. But there are plenty of people who don't mind doing that, and to them, they still have just as much fun, they're just as satisfied, and they are cool with it. So I think it's just like kind of a subjective thing. For me to tell someone else, well, you're cheating yourself, you're not going to be as satisfied, I have no right to do that. So I kind of feel like nobody does, really. You know, you can't really tell someone, well, you're cheating, you're not experiencing it the right way, and you're not a skilled player, and blah blah blah. That person on the other end playing the game might not feel that way at all. They might be completely satisfied. So yeah, when it comes to this idea of quote-unquote cheating, I think everybody's ideas are kind of misplaced. They're putting the emphasis on satisfaction, and they're calling it cheating if you're not getting the satisfaction they do, or they think you're not getting the satisfaction they do. They think you should do it all on your own and never receive any kind of help, because it somewhat makes you less skilled, or you're cheating yourself. But like I said, it's pretty subjective. It's not it's not something you can tell another person, because everybody has different experiences. We all kind of have our different levels as far as, you know, what we consider too much help or not enough help or whatever. You know, it's just kind of subjective in that way. So yeah, that's pretty much my opinion on all of this. I think it's pretty silly to kind of put people down because they look up something here and there. They're still playing the game, they're still being a gamer. It's just, you know, it's different now. We have the internet, so it's kind of equivalent to what we had in the past where, you know, we would look at a magazine or we would write to these companies. I used to write to Nintendo. I would send them letters asking, you know, how do I unlock all the characters in Smash Brothers? That was a legit thing I did. And they mailed me back like 2 weeks later and told me how to do it. And I was so happy. I was still playing the game constantly. It didn't make me any less of a gamer. I didn't know what to do. This was before the internet. This was, you know, a game that no one else really had, so I couldn't ask like a friend or anything like that. So we've been doing this for a long time, sharing ideas and sharing what we found and how you can find it. And did you find this? Oh, let me help you. You know, that's been a thing that's part of our culture and part of being a part of this community. So when you look up something on, you know, YouTube or IGN or GameFAQs, that's just equivalent to what we used to do back in the day. It's just different now because we have all this technology, we have all this information. And so yeah, I mean, I could see where people are coming from, thinking like, well, you can't look up everything because you're kind of screwing yourself out of the experience. Maybe, but like I said, those people might not be thinking that. And I'm not one that's going to look up every single little thing. I'd have to be pushed to the point to do that. But some people don't mind, and that's what they do. They're still playing the game. They're still having a good time. Do I think they're cheating? No, I really don't. I guess it depends on the situation. Like if somebody's looking up every single thing, every single turn to take and all of that, and if it's a linear game where, you know, it's dependent upon just your routes and what you do, maybe that's an argument we can have. But when it comes to games like Nioh and Dark Souls and these other action RPGs, or even like platformers or other difficult types of genres, you still have to perform. You still have to execute. You still have to take your knowledge and information that you're receiving and put it into the game and execute those moves perfectly, really, especially if it's a real challenging game. Trust me, I've known a lot of things about certain bosses and areas and things like that. Some of it's helped, some of it's not, and some I don't even try because something else worked already. You know what I mean? There's all this information that we can pull into our experience, but it's up to us really to make our own of it. And I think that's what's so great about the community, is that we're making our own experiences, but we're also sharing them too. And it's kind of like we're artists in a way. I know it's kind of a weird comparison. I think of it like artists or like writers. It'd be like telling a writer, like, you can't look up any references. You can't look up any definitions. You have to write it all on your own ideas. I mean, how far would writers really get? You know, we're at our best when we learn from others and, you know, kind of share our experiences and just kind of feed off each other. And I think that's what's so great about this community. And I don't know if these people are failing to realize that, you know, it's kind of a good thing in a way. But anyways, I'm rambling. Let me know what you guys think about this. If you think it's quote unquote cheating to look something up or hear something from a friend. Like I was saying with streaming, there's so many backseat gamers out there. It's kind of hard to not receive tips about games. It's kind of impossible. So yeah, if you're a streamer, I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about. You're going to be hearing all these tips and tricks, people trying to help you out. It's just the way it is. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching this video, and I will catch you in my next one. Peace.